an unbelievable millennial generation, the most diverse generation in American history. That's a lot to work with. We've got some real power to work with. Okay, let's see why else I'm so optimistic right now. I think in front of us, what we're seeing is one of the greatest crossroads this nation has ever come to. We've done things one way for a very long time, and it's time to think about doing them another way. So for a long time, all of the energy that we have used to power our country has come from dirty sources of energy. It's come from oil, it's come from coal, there's been one way of doing things. But, there's some scary realities that are facing us. The first reality is that our supplies of oil and gas and coal, they won't be around forever. The second scary reality is that the continued use of burning those dirty fuels is making this country and making this world a place that will not be inhabitable for future generations. And that's a heavy thing to be on our shoulders, that it may actually be up to us as a generation to transition the way that we power our entire nation and our entire world. So we got a choice. We either look the other way and we say it's not our problem and it's too bad for future generations that there may be no energy left, that we may have heated the planet so much that the many parts of the world are uninhabitable, that we're going to turn our eye to record sea level rise, that will make our coastal communities go underwater. We'll turn our eye to Category 5 hurricanes like Katrina. We'll just turn our eye. Or we could be the generation that says, you know what? This is it. This is when we totally transition our energy system, where we go from coal and oil and gas to powering our nation with wind power and solar power, where we, as the most diverse generation in American history, stand up and say, we have an opportunity to not only protect our environment and make sure that we have clean air to breathe and clean water to drink and a planet that we feel proud to give to our children, but at the same time, we could create millions and millions of new green jobs all across the country that powered this new clean green energy future. And wait, that's not it. At the same time, we right here in the United States could be building that technology and owning that technology and creating models of how you move towards a clean energy future that the entire world could respect and could honor. And it could reestablish the role of the United States in the world. Yep, we, as a generation, could make that happen. You may have heard a guy by the name of T. Boone Pickens, who's an oil man. He's a businessman, right? T. Boone Pickens and I on the surface do not have a lot in common. T. Boone Pickens is a billionaire who has spent his life in the oil business. And I am far from a billionaire. I am just a kid from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who considers herself an activist that's fighting for the clean energy future. It seems like T. Boone Pickens and I have nothing in common. But that's what's so remarkable about this issue we're fighting. We have a lot in common. T. Boone Pickens gets that it's time to make a change, that his days of making billions in the oil industry are really in the past. And if he wants to continue to make money, and I want to continue to live on this planet and be able to know that future generations are going to be able to live on this planet, we got to make a change. And so T. Boone Pickens talks about the fact that right here in the middle part of the country, we essentially have the Saudi Arabia of wind potential. As much oil potential as there is in Saudi Arabia, we have in wind potential in the middle part of this country. Is that unbelievable? But it doesn't end there. On top of that, we have the Saudi Arabia of solar potential in the Southwest. We right now have enough renewable clean energy to power this entire nation. And do you know what we have on top of that, the most unbelievable resource? We have the millennial generation. We have all of us with the determination and passion to make unprecedented change. So here's the reality of what we're facing in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to bring it right back to what's happening right here at NSU. The reality of what we're facing in Washington, D.C. is a historic change in the way that the political game works. For a very long time, the people that controlled the decisions that happened in Washington, D.C. were very few select group of people. They were the people with all the money and all the influence. They were from special interest groups. And that's who decided policy. And honestly, and this is for many decades, this is during Republican administrations and during Democratic administrations, there were very few that had the power to make change in this country in a very real way. And so for decades, we saw that we ignored our physical environment. We ignored our energy crisis. We gave more and more money to subsidize oil instead of investing in clean energy technology. And now we're at a crisis point. We're at a point where 2009 has to be the year where we turn it around. And thankfully, the way things work in Washington have changed as well. People like you and me matter more in the federal government and the United States Congress than we ever have before. Because the people rose up in record numbers and went to the polls. Because we as a generation have proved that we have amazing ideas and that we've transformed our college campuses and local communities into models of the clean energy future. We have power like we never have before. And just 3 weeks ago, 12,000 young people representing every single state in this country and representing nearly every congressional district descended upon Washington, D.C. for an event we call Power Shift 2009. And there was no one there from NSU this year, but I know that won't be the case when we do Power Shift 2010, because I know I'll see all of you there with me. But there were students from Oklahoma there at Power Shift. And Power Shift represented a really unbelievable launching off point, in my opinion, for our issue, for our generation. It showed the people that sit in Congress, our U.S. representatives and our United States senators, that there actually is a very loud and strong and passionate voice in this country that wants change on climate issues and energy issues and environmental issues. We came to Washington, D.C., and we heard from amazing speakers in Obama's administration. We heard from the new head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Lisa Jackson, and from the Secretary of the Interior, Ken Salazar, and from Carol Bronner, the Special Assistant to the President on Climate Change and Energy. We heard from Van Jones, an inspirational figure who just got appointed to the Obama administration, that's talking about building millions of new green jobs that create pathways out of poverty for millions of Americans. We heard from young people on the Navajo Reservation that are using green jobs opportunities to transition the economy on the Navajo Reservation from one based on coal to one based on renewable energy. We heard from the sons and daughters of coal miners and oil workers and laid off auto workers about the opportunities to transition our economy from an economy that's not really working for us anymore, an economy that's led to record job loss, that's led to unhealthy communities, that's led to global warming. We heard about the ways that we as young people in our own communities could really pave the way towards change, and we took that message to Capitol Hill, and I have to say they heard our voices, and they heard them strong. We filled the halls of Congress. Literally, you could not walk through the halls of Congress and not see a young person in a green t-shirt waiting outside a member of Congress's office. And we were very clear. We said, we come to you because what's on the line is bigger than anything we've ever heard you talk about in a campaign speech. What's on the line is our future. What's on the line is our ability to get a job after we graduate college. What's on the line is the role the United States of America will play in the world